All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to talk about Errol Spence Jr.'s trainer, DERICK James, laying out what the problem is going to be for Terence Crawford in the upcoming fight with Errol Spence Jr., and how some of the biggest weapons that Terence Crawford has to his disposal or at his disposal may very well turn around and come to backfire when they're not available against Errol Spence Jr. Now, before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you are a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you very much for your continued support. But before we get into that, I just want to tell you real fast about today's sponsor, the Boxing Showtime app. It's a very useful app that keeps you updated on all things boxing, and you can keep up with the latest fights, where to watch them, the latest news, and a lot more. For any hardcore boxing fan like myself, and most likely all of y'all, I would definitely recommend downloading it. And it also is most definitely a big support to the channel. It's available for both Apple and Android, and you can find the link in the description below. Thanks for considering downloading Boxing Showtime's app. But let's get back into the subject matter of the video. So let's talk about this, man, because for a long time, man, we have been caught up in a lot of the back and forth conversation about Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford. We've been talking for months and months and months and months and months ad nauseum about the contract details, whether the fight was going to be, a 50-50 pay split on the pay-per-view, whether or not there were going to be guarantees paid, whether or not there were going to be rematches, whether or not Terence Crawford ducked out by going over to BLK Prime to fight David Avanesyan, all of those things, right? Whether Errol Spence Jr. really doesn't want the fight and Al Heyman was doing this and PBC was doing that. Now we can actually talk about the fight itself, which is about 8 weeks away right now, because this is May 29th. May 29th, June 29th, July 29th, we are exactly 2 months away from this fight. So I wanted to draw attention on the actual fight taking place and some things that were said by DERICK James. Now, if you are not familiar with DERICK James is one of the best trainers in boxing, 2022 Trainer of the Year, after having had a spectacular year of getting the undisputed title for Jermell Charlo, working with Jermell Charlo to get the undisputed championship at 154 pounds. Errol Spence Jr. returned to the ring in April of last year for the dominant win over Yordenis Ugas. Also, you have Frank Martin, who is an excellent, excellent fighter on his way up. Since then, he took 2 high-profile fighters under his wing, and that would be Anthony Joshua, the former 3-belt holding heavyweight champion. Some people say 4 because they will include the IBO. Glad we don't do that anymore. And then obviously coming off, he's got a rebuilding project coming up with Ryan Garcia. So what did DERICK James say about the fight with Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford? If you know what people say about Terence Crawford, they talk about his ability to do a bunch of different things in the ring. They talk about his speed, his athleticism, and all of that. DERICK James is on record as saying that when fighters rely on their athleticism and they are not necessarily extremely fundamentally sound, that those things wind up catching up with them later in their career, where you have somebody like a Roy Jones Jr., who just has lightning fast left hooks, fast feet, excellent reflexes, which somebody named Teddy Atlas would consider to be instinct. but instinct is really recognition mixed with reflexes, which allows you to do something very, very quickly. Now, anybody over the age of 35 will tell you, or 40 at the very least will tell you, that all of those things start slowing down the older that you get. You're not as quick at 35 as you are at 25. You're definitely not as quick at 40 as you are at 30. And one of the things that older athletes consistently say before they retire, is that I could see it. I can see the hole. I just can't get there, right? Like a running back that sees an opening. And when they were young and they could recognize that opening, because your mind is just as sharp, they could recognize that opening in the line. They were able to get to it, accelerate, get to it, and boom, they're down the field. Now they just can't do it. They see it, they take a move before they get there. That hole is closed. So that's what Derrick James is talking about or implying with Terence Crawford. That over time, all people that rely on athleticism primarily to get them over, at the end of it, they wind up losing that and they will regress faster than other people will. The second thing that Derrick James said is that this fight is going to take place at the space that Errol Spence Jr. wants it to take place. That this is not going to be a scenario where Terence Crawford is going to be able to stay from in front of Errol Spence. Now, the thing about Terence Crawford is that Terence Crawford also is somebody that will fight you. And he is somebody that has very, very good, very strong power. But in my opinion, from what I've seen, he also is somebody that punches, that has his head up in the air a little bit. He also is somebody that throws more looping shots than Errol Spence Jr. does, and that is in large part how he delivers the hardest of shots. But the most significant thing for me is the stance and the fact that he is somebody that they consider to be a switch hitter, even though I say he fights primarily southpaw, and every once in a while he'll go into the orthodox stance. He may start in the orthodox stance, but he's going to go right to the southpaw stance as soon as he gets touched. And most of the damage that he does in the fight comes from the southpaw stance, unless he's fighting somebody that is, significantly a lower level fighter, which he's done. So it's just going to be really interesting, man, to look at those two things that Derrick James talks about. Whether or not Terence Crawford at the age of 35, I think he's going on 36, he'll be just short of 36. Whether or not he still has the legs that he had when he was 30 years old, or when he was 32 years old, when all of this conversation about him and Errol Spence Jr. started. Now, in the same breath, Errol Spence Jr. is 32 as well. I don't think he'll be 33 by the time that fight starts, but he's in his 30s as well. And there's a chance that you could say the same thing for him. My only thing with him is that I would compare this situation to more of a Bernard Hopkins, where he's not somebody that really relies on athleticism. He's not somebody that is really relying on quick twitch muscles and slipping shots and moving around the ring and walking people into shots. He's somebody that is coming forward a large part of the fight and really, playing a numbers game on you with how many times he hits you while he's slipping the shots you throwing back at him. But anyway you cut it, man. It's a classic fight, a great fight. Looking forward to it. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.